Hi guys, and welcome to my crib. So I changed position today because I really don't like to be here. I want to be outside, but every time I do a video outside, the phone gets knocked over by the wind, or you can't hear what I say or stuff like that. We have to talk about the 604, 605 and 606 engines, because that's like the requests I get, and those are the engines we are here for. So we have 4-cylinder, 5-cylinder and 6-cylinder, 604, 605 and 606. They all come as naturally aspirated versions, and they also come as turbo versions, not the 604. And 604 is really the odd bird in the collection, because the 604 is the only engine that is not available as a turbo engine. The 601, the 4-cylinder 2-valve engine, was available as a turbo engine. Not in the US, I believe, but in Europe it was. The 604 also has a different stroke and bore. It has 89mm of bore instead of 87 as all others. Not all, but most of them, like 601, 602, 603, 605 and 606. The 604 was actually available as a 2-liter with 87mm of bore in taxi cars in like Romania or Bulgaria or something like that. Really, really hard to find. So the normal 604 is 2.2 liter. We don't have to talk more about that, So the naturally aspirated engines, they are weak, people say, but they're not. The 601, 602 and 603, the older versions of these engines, you can say more or less that the turbo rods of the older engines are the same strength-wise as the naturally aspirated rods of the newer engines, the 604, 605 and 606. And that's, what we have to think about, that, it has weak rods. No, it doesn't. It has weaker rods than the turbo versions of those engines, but it's not weak. And also something that is really funny is that Mercedes decided to change the compression height of the pistons of the 604 instead of changing the length of the rod. And I really love that, that engineering, that we're going to do this instead because we can. So the 604 has 149mm rods. Yes, that's the 605 and the 606, and the 601 and 602 and 603. So it is possible to put the 605 or 606 turbo rods in your 604. You just have to swap out the small end bushings of your rods and hone them to size. There is the natural aspirated engines has a 26mm wrist pin instead of the turbos that have 28. But I mean, it's a fairly simple operation, so you can easily make your 604 strong. Also, difference between naturally aspirated and turbo engines is that the NA engines have organic head gaskets and the turbo engines have multi-layer steel, MLS. So, I mean, that's like the first thing that will happen is that you shoot your head gasket. It's not that you bend your rods or anything like that. It's the head gasket that's going to fail on you, because you still have your 22:1 in compression and you fucking boosting 2 bars. So of course the head gasket gonna go, But I mean, that's simple also. The 605 and 606 in NA state still have the 87mm bore, so you can just swap head gasket and be done with it. The 604, on the other hand, is 89mm bore, so you can't really just take a 605 or 606 gasket and smack on there. It does fit, yes, and you can just cut it to length. It's no problem, but the bore makes the piston hit the gasket, so it's not really possible. And this is interesting because we have tried, I can't say everything because there are other type of operations you can do, but we have tried laser, and we have tried machining with a mill, and we have tried water cutting the gaskets. And what works for us is the water cutting. It doesn't damage the gasket at all, and yeah, the result is just as factory. So that's what we have done. And if you live close to a water cutting company, you can just take your gasket there. It's a very simple operation for them to make the bores bigger. We do like this, and this is no fucking trade secret. It's any machine shop know how to fucking center something. So I just tell you because maybe your guy don't really know how to do it. So you measure the bore, or the water cutter do, of course, and then he cut a piece that is that size of the bore in your head gasket. But before he cut it, he shoot a hole in the middle, right? And then he cut the piece, and this piece he can put in the bore when the gasket is on the table, and then he can center in the hole in the middle. It's that simple, It's almost hard for them to charge you money for cutting the gasket. So it's like it's a pack of cinnamon buns, and it's nothing. So it's possible to make all NA engines, even the 604, very, very good turbo engines, and you can run them with the stock rods. Just swap the head gasket, and they're gonna treat you very well. And for the money you pay for the NA engines, I think it's like the most bang for the buck you can get. If we talk about power, you can do the math yourself because it's a cylinder less and all. But in the 606 you can fairly, what's the fucking word in English? I don't know. I know this, but I just forgot it, reliable. So you can fairly reliable do 450 horsepower in your NA 606. In my book, that's not weak. So the weak NA 606 is not that weak. That means that you can use the standard engine. You can buy a 604, 605 and 606. You can run that, and you can have a lot of fun for not a lot of money, And that's really what most guys want to do. They just want to have some fun. And other upgrades then, you can swap to forged rods. I normally have in stock forged rods with 26mm small end, so it fits directly in your NA engine. The pistons is not weaker. It doesn't have the 605 and 606 turbo engines are designed in a very strange way. So the oil squirter really goes inside the pistons, and between the crown and the bottom of the crown, I don't know, on the pistons, it's a cavity. So the fucking oil squirter goes inside the piston and squirts oil inside and cools the crown of the piston, and it's an amazing design feature. And of course, they like never ever break. But the NA pistons, they don't break either. They also very, very strong. They are built like a normal piston, so they don't have this cavity. But other than that, it's just rock and roll. There's no problem at all. The NA engines do have oil squirters. It's not like the 601, 602 and 603 NA engines that lack these. The 604, 605 and 606 all have oil squirters. The oil squirters are different though, because of the piston design. So if you're gonna rock turbo pistons in your NA engine, you need to change your oil squirters to turbo oil squirters, because they are shaped in a different way, because they go inside the piston. I mean, the differences are many, but then again, not so much, you know. It's like the valve size is the same and everything is the same. Everything swaps over and is just a really good usable platform. So I think the NA engines are good engines, and I think you should run them more, because it's good value for money. The turbo engines, we all know that. We all love that. And, you know, I got a request about how much power you can run in a built engine. And that's like a question with several layers, because we all see reliability in different ways, and we all use our engines in different ways, and we all put them in different chassis. And I mean, an engine in an off-roader with 14-inch wheels and really low gearing and stuff like that, the punishment that engine takes is probably more than a drift car, because it's so much torque going back to that block and that crank that it really takes a beating. So I mean, for everybody this is different, and for me reliability is maybe a little bit less than you, because I think most shit is reliable. But building an engine, that's what we're going to talk about in the next video, and how much power these engines can stand. Because today we spoke about the NA engines and how fucking good they are, and that you should love them. Bye bye.